Elections have a special significance in a democracy. Democracy without elections is incomplete, farce, and mere mummery. Did you hear incomplete? Yes. Incomplete because there is no other way than elections by which the public can participate in the governance. It is the only tool to prove the sovereignty and supremacy of the people. It is the elections that make the government accountable to the public. Therefore, elections at regular intervals are considered inevitable in every democratic system. Barring a few countries that are run by dictators, it can be said that most of the world is ruled by democracy and it should continue. And continuing that tradition, in the year 2023, general elections are going to be held in almost 21 countries of the world. One of those countries is Nigeria, where elections are going to be held on February 25. Yes, you got it right. Nigeria, the same country in the African continent where a radical terrorist organization like Boko Haram exists. You might have heard of some of the nefarious terrorist acts of this organization. This is the same Boko Haram which was responsible for abducting 276 schoolgirls in 2014 in the town of Chibok in Borno state of Nigeria. The same country, Nigeria, which despite having immense oil resources, has again moved towards pauperism in the last 5 years. Amidst the rapidly increasing separatist activities and attacks of extremist groups, the security of people's life and property and corruption are the most important issues in this election. Every election brings rays of hope, hope of a change, hope of getting rid of despair and misery, hope of a new era. But each successive election has merely proved to be an illusion for the people of Nigeria. Hello, my name is Neel and you are watching Around the World in 7 days. In this episode, we will discuss about the upcoming presidential election of Nigeria. In this, we will try to understand the political system and electoral processes of Nigeria. We will also take a look at some of the major election issues there. But first of all, let's talk a bit about Nigeria. Nigeria is home to over 250 ethnic groups speaking about 500 different languages. The Hausa in the north, Yoruba in the west, and Igbo in the east are the three largest ethnic groups, accounting for more than 60% of the total population. However, a very peculiar thing about this country is that despite having hundreds of local languages, its official language is English, the language of its former colonial masters. Nigeria's constitution guarantees freedom of religion. This means that in theory it is a secular state. But the country remains largely divided between Muslims living in the north and Christians living mostly in the south. As far as the economy is concerned, Nigeria is a regional power in Africa. Its economy is the largest in the continent. However, the country ranks very low on Human Development Index and is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Nigeria is also a member of several international organizations like the United Nations, the Commonwealth of Nations, the Economic Association of West African States, and OPEC, which shows its global importance. If we talk about the current situation, Nigeria has been into economic recessions twice in the last 5 years, and the inflation here is about 21%. Also, it is one of the poorest countries in the world. According to a World Bank report of 2022, more than 40% of Nigeria's population is below the poverty line, and about 180 million people are facing the threat of food insecurity. Along with this, the nation has also witnessed a long period of violence and ethnic conflict, which is yet far from over. In this environment, the presidential election in Nigeria is going to be held on February 25th. The current president, Muhammadu Buhari, has been the president for 2 terms. So, as per the constitution of Nigeria, he cannot run for re-election. Currently, there are 18 candidates trying their luck in this election. Now, let us discuss a bit about the political system of Nigeria. In Nigeria, the president is both the head of a state and the head of federal government. The term of office of the president is 4 years. In this regard, he is same as the president of USA. In addition to the president, there is also a vice president who acts in the absence of the president. Given the long history of ethnic conflicts, Nigeria's constitution provided that the president would include one member from each of the 36 states in his cabinet. Overall, Nigeria has a presidential form of government like the US. In theory, it is a federal country, but in practice, it functions as a unitary state. Now, if we look at the election, Nigeria follows the system of simultaneous election of the president and the vice president. The elections are direct and uses two-round system. Now, what is two-round system? It means that the election is to be held in two phases. If a candidate gets the required number of votes in the first phase itself, then the second phase is not required. To be elected in the first phase, a candidate must have majority in at least 24 out of 36 states and should also get more than 25% votes. If none of the candidates cross this mark, then a second round is conducted. In the second round, only top two candidates contest and others are considered out of race. This voting takes place within 21 days. However, Nigeria has not been to a second round of poll till date. All elections are done under the first past the post system only. It is worth mentioning that in Nigeria, there are 109 seats in the Senate, that is the upper house, and 360 seats in the House of Representatives, that is the lower house. If we were to draw a parallel with India, then we can say that 109 members in Rajya Sabha and 360 members in the Lok Sabha. Each state sends 3 members to the Senate and 1 is sent from the national capital. Elections to the Senate and the House of Representatives are also held under the first past the post system. The first past the post system is also known as simple majority system. In this voting method, the candidate with the highest number of votes in a constituency is declared the winner. So there is no foundation to get X number of or X percentage of votes. This is same as the what we see in the Indian elections. Further, if we talk about the election campaigns, after 8 years of failed rule of President Muhammadu Buhari, Nigerian citizens are going to elect their new president in hope of a new era. Nigeria has faced 2 recessions, inflation has crossed 21% mark and terrorist activities have increased. Right now, the election campaign in Nigeria is at its peak. Although there are 18 candidates in the fray, only 3 of them are the most probable contenders. First, Atiku Abubakar from the People's Democratic Party, that is PDP. Don't be surprised, Nigeria also has a PDP, and this is different from the PDP of Jammu and Kashmir. Now let's get back to Atiku Abubakar. He has been the vice president and is the most experienced politician among all the candidates. Second is the national leader of All Progressives Congress, that is APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has also been the governor of Lagos in 2010, and is the third one is Labour Party backed candidate Peter Obi, who has an image of Mr. Clean and has also been the governor of Anambra State from 2007 to 2014. As far as the major issues in Nigeria's presidential elections are concerned, apart from the well-known global issues such as inflation, unemployment and economic misery, issues such as violence, terrorist attacks and ethnic integration are the most important ones here. History of ethnic conflict in Nigeria is very old. It was planted during the British colonial period when the North and South Nigeria were integrated. North Nigeria is Muslim majority area while the South Nigeria is Christian majority. Northern Nigeria is backward while southern is relatively more prosperous. Racial supremacy and Muslim fundamentalist thinking gave rise to a struggle that continues even today. Same factors were also responsible for the civil war that lasted from 1967 to 70, in which about 1 million people were killed and millions were rendered homeless. Another major issue is corruption. There have been serious allegations of corruption on the candidates of both the major parties in Nigeria. Now the election results will tell who will emerge victorious, corruption or a new dawn. There is a word in Yoruba language of Nigeria, Imi Lokan, which means it's my turn. It will be interesting to see whether a new dawn will have its Imi Lokan. Now it's time to note down a question based on today's discussion. The question is, social and political instability invariably translates into economic misery. Explain in the context of Nigeria. That is all for this episode of Around the World in 7 days. See you in next episode. Till then, goodbye.